We love stories about dreams coming true. We rarely talk about what those dreams actually feel like when you're inside them. I came to the United States with a dream, to become a professional artist. I left my family. I left my home. I left my partner. I left everything familiar, because I believed in possibility. And then it happened. The city selected me to paint a mural. For me, that was the climax of the dream. This was the moment I had imagined. Until I climbed the scaffolding. It was 3 levels high, no braces on the sides. A wooden platform extending outward so I could reach a Spanish-style building with deep overhanging ceilings. It was winter, cold, windy. The kind of wind that doesn't just move around you, it pushes against you. And I am afraid of heights. The wall was stucco, rough, full of asperity, uneven texture that barely absorbed paint. Every brushstroke required pressure. Every movement required stability I did not feel. I was sitting on a man-made wooden ledge attached to the scaffold. One wrong shift, and I could fall. To bring the paint up, I had to lean backward. When I climbed down to refill supplies, there was a moment, every single time, when my feet were hanging in the air. You step down, and for a split second, you have not yet touched the ladder. That moment, that suspension, that uncertainty. And I remember thinking, I left everything for this? This is not glamorous. This is not romantic. This is not the artistic dream people imagine. This is cold. This is wind. This is fear. But something powerful was happening that I didn't yet understand. Leadership was being formed. Because in that suspended moment, when my feet were not yet secure, I realized something profound. Dreams elevate you, but elevation exposes you. Standing on the ground, vision is inspiring. Standing 3 levels high, in freezing wind, on unstable wood, vision feels vulnerable. That mural taught me that passion without structure is dangerous. I had talent. I had drive. But what I needed was reinforcement, strategic thinking, preparation, systems. That scaffold became a metaphor for leadership. Many of us climb fast. We pursue opportunity. We chase vision. But we don't always build the structural support underneath. And when pressure comes, wind, cold, instability, fear surfaces. Strategic leadership is what prevents fear from becoming failure. Up there, I learned balance. Not just physical balance, strategic balance. Where do I place my weight? When do I pause? How do I move carefully without freezing? Later in my leadership journey, when projects encountered resistance, when stakeholders questioned decisions, when uncertainty grew, I remembered that scaffold. Pushing recklessly would only create instability. So instead, I built clarity. Clarity is structural reinforcement. When mission is clear, you don't wobble as easily. When purpose is defined, wind feels less threatening. Then I built unity. Because leadership is not meant to be done alone on a wooden plank. Unity aligns people around shared purpose, so no one is unsupported. Then I built agility. Agility is not about reacting emotionally. It is about adjusting intentionally. On that scaffold, I learned to shift my weight slowly. In leadership, I learned to shift strategy wisely. There was another moment I didn't expect. Someone filmed me working, standing in the cold, fighting the wind, painting anyway. And suddenly, I was featured in the weather news. They called it beating the storm. And I remember laughing inside, because what they saw was perseverance. What I felt was terror. Isn't that leadership? From the outside, it looks strong. From the inside, it feels uncertain. But leadership is not the absence of fear. It is disciplined movement despite it. Advanced strategic leadership is not glamorous. It is not always visible. It is preparation when no one is watching. It is building systems so when the wind comes, you don't fall. It is evaluating innovation before climbing higher. It is aligning ethics before expanding influence. It is managing meaning during crisis so others feel secure, even if you are still stabilizing internally. That mural changed me.
Shifted me from activity to intentionality. From chasing opportunity to evaluating capacity. From emotional reaction to strategic anticipation. It forced me to ask better questions. Is the structure strong enough? Are the stakeholders aligned? Is the mission clear? Is the risk calculated? Because leadership is not about how high you can climb. It is about whether the structure can hold you. Today, when I think about strategic leadership, I don't think about titles. I think about that moment when my feet were hanging in the air. That second of suspension. That vulnerability. That choice. Climb back down or continue. I continued. And not because I wasn't afraid, but because I learned to build stability before moving. The world does not need more leaders who chase height. It needs leaders who understand reinforcement. Leaders who build clarity. Leaders who align unity. Leaders who cultivate agility. Leaders who know that courage must be supported by systems. That mural still stands. But what it built in me is greater. It built perspective. And perspective is the highest form of leadership vision. Growing into a strategic executive leader. Leadership is often misunderstood. Many believe leadership begins when you receive a title. But real leadership begins the moment you realize that managing tasks is not enough. For years, I believed I was leading because I was busy, organizing projects, solving problems, coordinating people. I was productive. I was committed. I was passionate. But I was not yet strategic. The turning point came when I understood something critical. Management maintains the present. Strategic leadership shapes the future. That realization changed everything. As an artist, a founder, and a community builder, I was comfortable creating. Vision came naturally. But advanced strategic leadership required something deeper, systems thinking. I had to learn to see beyond individual projects and start seeing patterns, structures, and long-term consequences. Instead of asking, what needs to be done today, I began asking, how does this decision shape the organization 5 years from now? That shift, from operational thinking to systemic thinking, marked my true transition into strategic leadership. Advanced strategic leadership demands 3 things: clarity, unity, and agility. Clarity means defining purpose so precisely that confusion has no room to grow. When people understand why they are working, not just what they are doing, performance transforms. Unity means aligning stakeholders, not forcing agreement, but cultivating shared commitment. I learned that influence is not about authority. It is about alignment. Agility means preparing an organization to adapt without losing its identity. The world changes quickly. Markets shift, crises emerge, technology disrupts. Strategic leaders do not panic. They anticipate. One of the most powerful competencies I developed was innovation discernment. Not every idea deserves implementation. Not every opportunity deserves pursuit. Strategic leadership requires evaluating. Is this incremental improvement? Is this market expansion? Is this technological advancement? Or is this radical transformation? That framework prevented reactive decisions and strengthened long-term positioning. Another essential shift involved ethical alignment. Strategic success without ethical grounding creates instability. I learned that sustainable leadership requires moral clarity. Every strategic decision must align with mission, values, and stakeholder trust. Trust, once broken, is costly to rebuild. And in today's interconnected world, perception travels faster than truth, which leads to another critical competency: crisis communication. I realize that during moments of uncertainty, people are not only looking for information, they are looking for reassurance. Managing meaning becomes as important as managing facts. Strategic leaders must communicate with speed, transparency, and empathy. Not to protect reputation alone, but to protect relationships. One defining moment in my leadership journey occurred when a project faced unexpected resistance. Instead of pushing forward aggressively, I paused. I analyzed stakeholder concerns. I revisited the mission. I adjusted strategy without compromising vision. The outcome was stronger support, deeper trust, and better long-term sustainability. That experience taught me this: strategic leadership is not about control. It is about stewardship. It is about holding vision firmly, but holding methods loosely. It is about balancing innovation with discipline, agility with stability, confidence with humility. Today, I no longer measure leadership by activity. I measure it by alignment. Are vision, strategy, culture, and execution working together? If they are not aligned, even the most talented teams will struggle. If they are aligned, ordinary teams can accomplish extraordinary outcomes. Strategic leadership is not reserved for executives in corner offices. It is a mindset, one that sees systems, anticipates change, protects trust, and builds sustainable impact. The world does not need more managers of complexity. It needs architects of clarity. It needs leaders who think long-term, act ethically, communicate wisely, and innovate intentionally. My transition into strategic leadership was not about gaining authority. It was about gaining perspective. And perspective changes everything because it gives you vision. I learned about solid structure by building huge sculptures. I learned that the structure of a piece needs to be balanced to cover every direction and all aspects of the system's parts. It needs to be examined from within in a deep and thorough way. Like a statue, the solid layer that sustains the mission and meaning has to be balanced and built to last. The resources, just like the materials of a statue, need to be durable, have flexibility, and be built to withstand the motion of change so they do not break under pressure. There has to be balance between all the layers of stakeholders and sustained cohesion under pressure in order to endure. Building with clay taught me how malleability can be manipulated the wrong way or with solid intent, made to preserve balance. But it takes time to establish an idea, to let it solidify and stand. All materials, as well as tools or methods of communication, need to face opposing forces like gravity, life pressure,
and even the fire of the kiln. Being a sculptor turned me into a strategic leader who understands support and resilience.